You want to ask a lot of questions. You want to be sure. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I just want to talk about dental hygiene interviews. So I'm going to discuss some questions that I was asked and questions that I asked, and maybe some things that you could expect while doing your job search after dental hygiene school. So if you want to know more, then keep watching. Okay, so first I want to talk about my interview experience. So at my school, they had like a job fair where they had so many different dental offices come to the school, and we just handed out our resume to offices that we were interested in. We didn't do too much of like job searching. So after the job fair, we got interviews, and I think I interviewed at two offices, and one was the pediatric office and another one was a general dentist office. I like both offices. One of the offices my son went to for his cleanings. The other office was around the corner from my house. Well, both offices were around the corner from my house, but the general dentist office was super close to my office. After graduating, I was dead set on working at a pediatric office. That once I interviewed with the general dentist office, like, I loved him so much. He was left-handed and he was introvert, and it was a newer office. At that time, I wanted to work at a newer office because we're all new and we're all growing. So just like the doctor's learning, I'm learning. So at the same time, we're learning together. I didn't want to feel rushed to meet certain milestones as a hygienist. Like, I got to take my time with my cleanings. I got to take my time with talking with patients and just learning everything about the job or being a hygienist. So I work in a new office, so I was able to grow with the office and learn, work on my speed, and just take my time with my appointments. But yeah, I interviewed at two offices, and out of all of my interview experiences, I've only maybe had two actual sit down interviews. So at the pediatric office, I just went there and I shadowed, and then it was like, well, how do you like it? Do you want to work here? And so I accepted. At the general dentist office, I had an actual sit down interview. I had to get dressed up and sit down with the doctor, and he asked me questions. So he mainly asked me like why I want to work here, what made me choose hygiene, how would I explain oral hygiene instructions to a patient. That was like one of my best interviews that I had. I felt like I meshed so well with that doctor, but I knew that I was moving, so I didn't want to put him in that spot of like hiring a hygienist like a month and a half later. I don't know, I love that doctor. If I stayed in Florida, I would have been working for that doctor, even though the pay was way lower than what the asking price was in Florida at the time. I was willing to accept that low pay just to grow with that doctor because he was so sweet. I don't know, maybe it's just like the interview, but he was so sweet. He was willing to pay for my loops, my uniform. The schedule was nice. I don't know, I really like that office, but I chose to work at the pediatric office. I don't want to go too much into it, but I just chose to work there. I wanted to work with kids. But anyways, like, on your interview journey, it may be different across the board. You may have some sit down interviews, you may have some job shadowing. I don't know the correct term, but I think it's a working interview. So you may have working interviews, and so where you work for a day and they pay you for that day, and you'll see how everybody works together, whether or not you like the office. A lot of people recommend doing working interviews because you get to see what the office is like, how you may interact with the people at the office, the patients. You can ask people questions about like the job. Usually people are really honest about the job, whether or not you should work at the office. Like I said earlier, I maybe had like two actual sit down interviews, one in Florida and one here in Oklahoma. and the questions were kind of similar to the questions that I had in Florida. She asked me why I want to work there. How do I handle like conflict in the office? If someone was doing anything unethical in the office, how would you handle that? She wanted me to explain my personality type. I'm an introvert. I keep to myself, but people don't want to hear that. So I usually tell people that I'm extrovert. So yeah, she wanted me to explain my personality type, if I knew how to identify caries on x-rays. The interview so far has been like pretty basic. So next I want to talk about questions you may want to ask when going out and looking for your job. When you're going out and looking for your job and you interview, you may like the job, you want to ask a lot of questions. You want to be sure that this office could be your potential forever office. So I know for me, I like to ask a lot of questions, and I need to know what I'm getting myself into. So the first question I like to ask is, how long do I get for new patients, recall patients, and SRP patients? Because it varies from office to office. So I know for new patients it's 90 minutes, SRP 90-minute, recall an hour, and then maybe kids 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It depends on every office. So you want to be sure about the appointment links, because it can make or break everything. But yeah, you want to be sure about like the appointment links, because you want to know whether or not you're participating in assistant hygiene or one column hygiene. Assistant hygiene is double column, and the appointments are about 45 minutes each. And you may feel like a robot. Assistant hygiene is usually where the assistant goes in, take the x-rays, medical history, polish, floss, and then you go in and just scale, and that's it. That is assistant hygiene. The appointments are usually under an hour. Like, I don't know how long like you would get for SRP and new patients. Maybe it's the same, but recall is usually under 45 minutes, and the schedule is most likely staggered. Like, you're busy nonstop all day, every day. Another question you may ask as a new grad is, how would certain appointments look like for you, for me? Since I am a new grad, and so some offices may adjust appointments just for you, or they will make a shorter schedule so you can get acclimated with the patient flow in the office. So you just want to be sure that they care about you and your growth in the office by asking that question, because you can usually tell when they're just trying to fill a spot for the hygienist based off of how they may treat you since you're new. And also, you want to ask about training. You just don't want to be thrown in the mix and having to figure out everything on your own. So if you get proper training, shadowing, you'll be successful in the position. Also, you want to ask about instruments. Are you able to buy whatever instruments you want? You want to ask about instruments, because again, it can make or break your appointments. Like, if you want certain instruments so you're successful during your cleanings, then you should be able to buy them. I buy my own instruments because I want to take them with me when I leave. So it's just up to you. It's up to you in regards to how the office buys the instruments, whether or not you want them to buy it or if you want to buy it. I prefer to work at an office where I'm able to order whatever instruments I want, as opposed to being stuck with dual instruments. Another question you want to ask for sure is about your certification, so your CE, CPR, and relicensing fees, uniform. You want to know who's paying that. Some offices will outright pay for your uniforms. Some will give you like a stipend. Some offices will pay for your CEs and your CPR. You just want to know what you're getting yourself into, because all of that can rack up. And when you find an office that can pay for everything, that is golden, because I'm telling you, CEs are expensive. Well, CEs can get expensive. There are some free ones out there, But yeah, CEs and then CPR it can be expensive, but I know I don't pay for none of those things. We get CEs through the company, so yeah, and I don't have to, I mean, I pay for my own uniforms, but we do get a stipend for our uniforms. So it just depends on what you're looking for. You may want to ask if you're expected to work off commissions. Are you expected to partake in sellables? Because that is a big thing. You may not want to work at an office that may solely rely on sellables and commissions. So it just depends on what you're looking for, what you're expecting, and how you want your hygiene journey to go. A big question to ask is, are you expected to clock out when patients no show or you have no patients on the schedule? Because some offices will expect you to clock out if a patient doesn't show, or they're expecting you to leave early if your schedule isn't full. So you want to ask those questions, because again, you don't want to be stuck somewhere where you're unhappy and they're expecting all of these things from you. So yeah, I don't know if this video helped, but if it does, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and of course subscribe to my channel. I am more than happy to help you guys. So yeah, see you guys in the next video.